Phobias and post-traumatic stress disorder are often examples of rapid learning. So we often think that learning happens slowly and that you have to keep trying to practice and remember something, but actually learning can happen really, really quickly. Children learn really quickly, for example, if they touch a hot plate and burn their hands and they pull their hand away quickly. They learn instantly, don't touch that, that burns. The same with phobias, post-traumatic stress disorder. You only have to usually be in a situation once for that situation to make you aware that whenever you're in any kind of similar situation, whether it's that type of situation or a resemblance, as I say, it's very generic pattern matching. So anything that resembles that, you just end up feeling the fear. You don't think about, oh, should I be scared in this situation or not? Does this resemble that enough for me to be scared? Your brain has just learned anything that resembles that situation that caused the phobia or post-traumatic stress disorder, you just instantly feel fear and get yourself out of that situation. And the general rule is that learning in that way happens fastest if there's high levels of emotion, and then it just takes like one repetition. Just a single event can cause a phobia to stick for the rest of your life, or can cause post-traumatic stress disorder to stick for the rest of your life. If there's low emotion, then it takes many repetitions. So some phobias and some post-traumatic stress disorder can actually come from low repetition, but it's the same thing over and over and over and over again. And so then it's a little bit like Pavlovian conditioning. You know, the whole thing of the dog being given some meat while having a bell rung, so that then when they hear the bell get rung, they salivate. So initially the salivation was because they were receiving the meat, but because they heard the bell every single time, eventually just hearing the bell makes them salivate. And so that kind of thing happens. That, say for example, somebody is in an abusive relationship, it might just be low level emotion, so they don't like the situation, but it's low level emotion, and so they just start perhaps avoiding a specific person. They try and avoid that person, or if they can't avoid the person, they at least have it where once they hear the car pull up, for example, outside of the abusive partner, they instantly get this kind of gut feeling of uncomfortableness. And it's not at a level that at that point they would call post-traumatic stress disorder, but they just get that gut feeling. And initially they didn't get the gut feeling. Then it reached a point where they got the gut feeling. And then it reached a point where hearing any car pull up gives them a gut feeling. And so gradually the associations build up. So that's not so common to find in practice. The most common thing you'll find is where there was a high level of emotion and a single time learning, or maybe 2 or 3 incidents. So I had, for example, a case where a woman had agoraphobia. She couldn't go outside her house, and what caused it was walking down the street and tripping over and hurting herself and waking up in hospital, then walking down the street and getting knocked over by a cyclist who was on the pavement and ending up in hospital, deciding pavements are quite dangerous, getting in a car instead and deciding to drive everywhere, pulling out of a junction, and another car came straight past. She hadn't seen it, came straight past and hit the front of her car, and again she ended up going to hospital. And those 3 incidents happened, and they just made her think, I can't go outside. She became fearful of the idea of leaving her house because the streets were dangerous and the pavement was dangerous. So there was nowhere for her to go out, so she shut herself away. I started working with her about 15 years after the incidents had happened, and she suddenly wanted to do something about it and try and address her problem, and she had tried talking to people before and nothing had helped. Halfway through the session, I'd used the rewind technique. Halfway through the session, she was outside with me on the seafront, eating ice cream, discussing what she's going to do with her life now. 15 years of being cooped up indoors, what's she going to do with her life now she can go out? So that was a few incidents close together that cemented the pattern in place.